Hare Krishna. Somebody can please lead the invocation prayers.
Hare Krishna, may I do this?
Go ahead.
Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stavidam Yena Dutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantigam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapata Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavscha Sri Rupam Sagradam Sahagana Raghunatamitam Tamsa Jeevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Palam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanmitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Apta Ganjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrinda Vaneshwari Rishabhamu Sugadevi Pranama Haripriye Vanta Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhudvaya Ivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Seva Sadi Gavra Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for also fine-tuning and joining ahead of time to listen to Kirtan to prepare your consciousness. Thank you. So today, we will cover Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, about the first half of the chapter. First, I will answer inquiries submitted by you all devotees. Question number 1. When Lord appears in his person as Lord Shri Krishna, his other plenary expansions also join him by his inconceivable potency, and thus Lord Krishna of Vrindavan is different from Lord Krishna of Mathura or Lord Krishna of Dwarka. Question is this referring to different pastimes of Lord Krishna? The statement is from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.14.8. So it is part of the same pastime that when original Shyam Sundar Krishna comes, he comes to perform Leela with his pure devotees. Rest of the activities, such as killing of demons, is taken care of by his Vishnu form that also appeared together with him. Does that answer the inquiry?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. But does it refer to the Lord presenting in different forms, like the Shamsundar form in all three, Mathura, Vrindavan and Dwarka? Does it refer to different forms of the Lord?
So only Vrajvasis know about this. If you ask some people, they will say, yeah, it's the one Krishna. It's the Vrajvasis who know that the Shyam Sundar form of Krishna can never leave Vrindavan, while in Dwarka and say the Kurukshetra war, etc., it's the Vishnu form of Krishna. So it depends on who you're referring to as who knows.
Thank you.
Question number 2. In many instances in the Vedic scriptures, Brahmana is said to be superior and more powerful than other divisions of society. Should the emphasis not be on Brahmanical qualities such as simplicity, humility, equanimity instead? So you are correct that all Varnas are equal. We have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita 4.13. discussion that Shudras are called lower because of their inability to control mind and senses. And Brahmana are higher for their ability to control mind and senses and the other qualities. Hence, Brahmana can easily engage in spiritual austerities. If you ask a Shudra to do the austerities of a Brahmana, they will feel this is torture. So yes, the focus is on Brahmanical qualities. Does that answer the question?
Yes, Prabhu, may I ask a follow-up? Because particularly it was purport text 42 with the reference to the Uttama and Adama. So again, here it allows for the Brahmin men to have contact with the Shudra woman. But again, here it says the other kinds of contacts are not are prohibited because of the consecration, right? They need to follow the laws of marriage, but still it allows for the superior caste to marry or have a relationship with the Sudras, but it cannot be the other way. It seems like they have a lot of leeway. So that's why I was wondering.
So what you said is correct. So what exactly is your question?
That they are allowed more in discussions, if I might say.
No, it is, there's nothing more or less here. It's just, it's a general statement that generally Shudras don't have that much control, and therefore you would want to have marriage, say, who have some compatibility. But if you find that a particular Shudra is able to follow the Brahmanical quality, then you can go and marry. And in Canto 3, it's also described the other option is that, say, a Shudra boy to go and marry a Brahmin girl is only when a superior authority allows. So superior authority will allow only when they see that this Shudra is actually, say, born in a Shudra family, but he is actually following and has some Brahminical qualities already. Therefore, they will allow. So it's not a blanket statement that you can just take it. Nitya?
Yes, thank you, Prabhu.
Question number 3. We are trying to be a devotee, but verse number 1.14.34 explains that we should become a Brahmana first. Only after that we can become a devotee. How do we understand this? So just 2 classes back, we discussed the hierarchy of living entities. Does any one of you like to answer this question from what we discussed a couple classes back? Anyone wants to try?
Prabhu, I can try. So I think that if I remember, it's Vipra, Brahmana, Vaishnava, and then Bhakta or devotee. It refers to the translation of qualities. So I think here the reference is to Brahmanical qualities. That is the modes of goodness. So we have to reach the modes of goodness before we can go about the mode of transcendence and be a Bhakta. So I think here the reference is solely to the qualities, not to the division.
All right. So we discussed from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 29, verse 28 onwards, that a gradation of jivas is given, that at the bottom you have inanimate objects, then living movable entities, then entities with greater symptoms and developed consciousness. Then a new category starts, that entities with sense perception. And within there are beings with touch sensation, taste sensation, smell sense, those who can hear, then beings who can distinguish forms, entities with 2 sets of teeth, with many legs, then 4 legs. Then comes human beings, categorized under non-varnashram, humans and humans in varnashram. Then comes Brahmana. Brahmana also has various categories. Brahmana who know Vedas, who know the meaning of Vedas, who can dispel doubt, who follow his duties. Then come devotees, that you have liberated person and pure devotees. So yes, we are trying to be a devotee from a human being. So we have to first come to the Brahmana level where we follow the austerities, develop the qualities, and gradually progress. If you can jump directly to be a pure devotee, by all means, but generally most of the time it is a gradual progress. Does that answer the inquiry? Question number 4. A forgetful conditioned soul is fearful, but a liberated soul is never fearful. How do we understand the fear of Yudhishthir and his seeing of bad omen in this context? So we did discuss this at our last class, and one of the devotee has this answer in the striking points, that Yudhishthir's anxiety was due to fear of separation from the Lord. Hence, Yudhishthir's anxiety is at spiritual level and not at material world fear. Does that answer the inquiry? Srimad Bhagavatam 1.11.16 and 17 explains that Akrura was not in good terms with Ugrasena, his father-in-law, though both of them were devotees. How to understand that devotee at Akrura level can have troubles with other devotees? So Srila Prabhupada has explained that there can be differences among devotees, but devotional service of Krishna still continues even when there are differences. So it's a fact, you will have differences, no big deal, as long as you don't break the relation, as long as you continue to do devotional services together. Does that answer the inquiry? Question number 6. What was the reaction and state of mind of Srimati Radharani, gopis and gopas, when they heard the news of Lord Krishna's departure? So the love and devotion of Srimati Radharani, the gopis, the gopas, is beyond my ability to comprehend. Srila Rupa Goswami gives a tiny bit of hint in Nectar of Devotion with the example of lust. By comparing to mundane lust, the single most consuming and overwhelming urge in our experience, we may catch the slightest of hint of the intensity of the gopis' desire to serve Krishna. So the key point is that we may catch the slightest of hint of the intensity of gopis' desire to serve Krishna. Therefore, I said, this is beyond my ability to comprehend the love and devotion of Srimati Radharani, the gopis and gopas. And Srimati Radharani, gopis and gopas, as well as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, taught us the highest level of devotion, which is devotion in separation. This devotion in separation is very difficult. Is possible to be practiced only by someone like Srimati Radharani, the gopis, the gopas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is very difficult. Of course, Krishna took all his pure devotees back with him to Goloka Vrindavan. And this discussion is coming up in our today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15. Does that answer the inquiry? Question number 7. Dhritarashtra and Pandu knew about who is their father, and Parikshit Maharaj knew Sukadeva Goswami is his grand uncle. Seems everything is happening in a circle. Did they know each other as relatives? So the context is that the husbands of Dhritarashtra and Pandu's mothers died before begetting any children. Therefore, the mother, meaning Satyavati, the mother of the dead husbands, asked Srila Vyasadeva to begot children in the wives of these dead husbands. So Srila Vyasadeva begot children in the wives without touching them, and these children, meaning the children are Dhritarashtra Pandu, are actually considered children of the dead husbands, even though they were begotten by Srila Vyasadeva, and even though they were begotten after the death of the husbands. And just as after the death of Parikshit Maharaj, his son Janmajaya was hearing Mahabharata history from sage Vyasam. Similarly, Parikshit Maharaj would know the history, although there is no reference for this. I am saying this by my own Pratyaksha Praman, that Parikshit Maharaj would know the history. Still, Sukadeva Goswami is not a relative of Parikshit Maharaj at the bodily level, because Dhritarashtra and Pandu are considered as children of their original biological father. They are not considered as children of Srila Vyasadeva, even though they are begotten by Srila Vyasadeva. Now, this process is, of course, not valid anymore of Srila Vyasadeva like begetting children. It was only possible back then. It's not even possible now. Does that answer the inquiry? Right. Question number 8. How do you understand this statement, woman approaching men in the contact never be refused? Scripture recommendation is higher caste to low caste. So woman has free pass to approach anyone. So we discussed this last time and read from Srila Prabhupada's purport that the key word is consecration. Consecration means association with sacred vow, meaning association in marriage. So it is not free for women to have a free pass. In Vedic times, which is described in scriptures multiple places, say for example in Canto 3, Canto 4, it described that when the daughters wanted to get married, they will let their father know, or the father will inquire through somebody else who is in close contact with the daughters. Say mother may be close contact, that who they have in their mind, who they want to marry. And then the father will approach. So it's not for a woman to have free pass. And in one of the purport in Canto 3, Prabhupada goes on to explain that woman, means the girl and the boy, should never connect by themselves to get married. The proper process is for the boy to approach the father that he is interested to marry, or say the father may approach the boy or the family of the boy. But the woman or the girl does not have a free pass and does not ever directly connect. We also discussed the Uttama and Adama, that higher caste men of Brahmana and Kshatriya could accept a woman of the lower caste of Vaishya and Shudra community. But men from lower caste could not contact a woman of higher caste. Does that answer the inquiry? Lord Krishna was apparently killed by the bow and arrow of the hunter. How did this happen? So, Srimad Bhagavatam 3.2.10 is the direct answer for this, that Uddhava is glorifying Dwarkavasi, that the intelligence of Dwarkavasi cannot be bewildered. So devotee is absorbed in Paramatma realization. They cannot be bewildered because they are perfected beings. And those who are under the illusory energy, they have different concepts. They think that Lord is ordinary human being. They think that Lord does not have a form. And so many such nonsense philosophy. So all these different conceptions are because of bewilderment of Lord's illusory energy. And because of bewildering pastimes, hence these ordinary envious people think that Krishna also had to suffer like human because they think Krishna as ordinary person. So atheistic person think that because Krishna killed so many people, hence Krishna had to suffer by a hunter killing him. Now visualize this, that the hunter's arrow only touched the lotus feet of Krishna. Just by arrow touching the feet, how can a person die? Even a normal person cannot die. So this point, the common people do not understand because of their atheistic nature. And where this conversation happens, Prabhupada goes on to explain that Krishna does not have a material body. Krishna has fully spiritual body and Krishna cannot be killed. So this act of hunter shooting arrows at Krishna's lotus feet is just to bewilder the atheist. Now our dear Vijay Prabhu, who is present among us right now, just had sent a message to me just a day or two ago that just 2 days ago, it was the anniversary of when Krishna was actually shot by this hunter, this very same pastime. So Krishna did not die to begin with. Yes, the hunter may have shot the arrow. And if you read that purport, the reference that I gave, I'll repeat, 3.2.10 and around those verses, Prabhupada explains that Krishna actually took his body, the original Shyamsundar form, with him. There is nowhere any mention that somebody did a cremation of Krishna's body. No, Krishna did not leave anything back because Krishna did not die to begin with. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you.
Next question. What happened to the 16,108 queens of the Lord Krishna after he was killed by the hunter? So the Krishna was never killed to begin with, we just discussed. So this discussion on what happened with the 16,108 queens of the Lord is coming up in our today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15. So I will keep it, the discussion for our discussion when we discuss chapter 15 today. Last question for today. What does it mean Lord left his Virat Roop in the material world? So devotees from batch 6 and 7 have not yet reached Bhagavad Gita chapter 11 discussion, where this discussion of the Virat Roop will come up. So Virat Roop manifests and annihilates with the creation and annihilation of material world universes. Therefore, it is stated that Lord left his Virat Roop in the material world because the Virat Roop will exist till the material will exist, and Virat Roop will annihilate when the full annihilation of the material world universes happen. Does that answer the inquiry?
So the Virat Roop is same as the universal form.
It is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll discuss this in Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, that Virat Roop, Vishwaroop and Kala Roop, these words are used interchangeably to all refer to the universal form. All right. Striking points. You have 3 slides. Take snapshot. This is slide number 1. Slide number 2. And slide number 3. Any questions, comments, realizations? Everybody on the same page?
Yes.
All right. So we will now discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15. But let's you all answer the homework questions given quickly, please. Somebody?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, homework question 1, if I may.
Yep.
What 2 necessities are required for a society to prosper? Cow protection and Brahminical culture for prosperity. A society devoid of these qualities is devoid of God's protection and cannot prosper for any significant amount of time.
Okay. Cow protection and Brahminical qualities are the 2 necessities for society to prosper. Very good. Next question. Anybody wants to attempt? Everybody should take turns to answer.
Prabhuji, it is analogy, carefulness, the illusion for living being. It is a person fearful of tiger in a dream. A person who is awake sees no tiger there. And he is not, the person who is awake has not forgotten the position what he hears. The tiger and fear are myth. The Lord is there to protect him even if there is so. The understanding is, it is only a myth, it is not the real fearfulness. A person who is not forgotten his position and Lord remains constant. This is what I understand.
Okay, very good. Correct point that the devotees, the pure devotees are awake. Therefore, they see that there is no tiger, and even if there is a tiger, the Lord will protect. But those who are in a dream or sleeping, means not awake to the Krishna consciousness, they are fearful of tiger in a dream, even though it's just a dream. All right. So everybody should take turns. It's generally always the few devotees who always answer these, but meant for everyone to take turns to answer these questions. All right. So we'll now start Canto 1, Chapter 15. So the recap or the context of where we are. We discussed this in the previous chapter 14, that Vidura returns to Hastinapur from his pilgrimage to instruct Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra then leaves home and also leaves his body by following Ashtanga Yoga. Then Narad Muni came to instruct Yudhishthir that you Pandavas continue to stay on earth until Lord is here on earth, and just wait to hear what is his next plan. Therefore, Arjuna went to Dwarka to meet the relatives and to find the next plan of Krishna. Yudhishthir saw bad omens, and Yudhishthir felt anxiety that the time has come to what Narad Muni was saying. Probably Krishna has wrapped up his pastime and went back to Goloka Vrindavan. Finally, Arjuna returns and Yudhishthir starts conversing with Arjuna. Arjuna is crying while offering obeisances. By all these, Yudhishthir could understand the dejection of Arjuna was about something serious. Hence, Yudhishthir started asking different reasons for Arjuna's dejection. So, chapter 14, last verse, Yudhishthir says, there is no reason for you to become so much dejected. I think you must have lost your most dear friend, Lord Sri Krishna. But Yudhishthir still wants to hear this from Arjuna. And that what exactly is the cause of Arjuna's dejection. Chapter 15 is titled The Pandavas Retire Timely. The summary of chapter 15 is given by Sridhar Swami is that Yudhishthir hears the lamentation from Arjuna. Knowing the appearance of Kali on earth, Yudhishthir entrusted the kingdom to Parikshit Maharaj, and he desired to go back home to Godhead. Chapter 15 is divided into 4 parts. Part 1, verses 1 to 17, strong feeling of separation from Lord Krishna. Part 2, verses 18 to 23, remembering intimate moments with Lord Krishna. Part 3, verses 24 to 31, Arjuna focuses on Lord's instructions and attains transcendence. Part 4, verses 32 to 51, retirement of Yudhishthir, Pandavas, Vidura, and others. Divya will read verse 1 translation and purport as well as verse 2 and 3 translations.
Hare Krishna.
Louder.
Verse 1, translation. Sutta Goswami said, Arjuna, the celebrated friend of Lord Krishna, was grief-stricken because of his strong feeling of separation from Krishna over and above all Maharaja Yudhishthira's speculative inquiries. Purport. Being too much aggrieved, Arjuna practically became choked up, and therefore it was not possible for him to reply properly to the various speculative inquiries of Maharaja Yudhishthira. Text 2, translation. Due to grief, Arjuna's mouth and lotus-like heart had dried up, therefore his body lost all luster. Now remembering the Supreme Lord, he could hardly utter a word in reply. Text 3, translation. With great difficulty, he checked the tears of grief that smeared his eyes. He was very distressed because Lord Krishna was out of his sight, and he increasingly felt affection for him.
So Arjuna was much aggrieved, and it is not possible for Arjuna to reply properly because Arjuna has lost his dearmost friend. Okay, Nitya, verse 4 translation and purport.
Yes, Prabhu. Remembering Lord Krishna and his well-wishes, benefactions, intimate familial relations, and his chariot driving, Arjuna, overwhelmed and breathing very heavily, began to speak. Purport. The Supreme Living Being is perfect in all relations to this pure devotee. Sri Arjuna is one of the typical pure devotees of the Lord reciprocating in the fraternal relationship, and the Lord's dealings with Arjuna are displays of friendship of the highest perfect order. He was not only a well-wisher of Arjuna, but actually a benefactor, and to make it still more perfect, the Lord tied him into a family relationship by arranging Subhadra's marriage with him. And above all, the Lord agreed to become a chariot driver of Arjuna in order to protect his friend from warfare risks. And the Lord became actually happy when he established the Pandavas to rule the world. Arjuna remembered all these one after another, and thus he became overwhelmed with such thoughts.
So we read in the purport, Prabhupada explains that Lord's dealings with Arjuna are display of friendship of the highest perfect order. So Arjuna is remembering how Arjuna and Krishna were deeply connected as friends. And Arjuna is thinking how Krishna supported him. Hence, Arjuna became overwhelmed, remembering all of this. Gauri, verse 5 translation plus purport plus verse 6 translation.
Hare Krishna. Verse 5, Arjuna said, O King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, who treated me exactly like an intimate friend, has left me alone. Thus my astounding power, which astonished even the demigods, is no longer with me. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 10.41, the Lord says, anyone specifically powerful and opulent in wealth, strength, beauty, knowledge, and all that is materially desirable is to be considered but a product of an insignificant portion of the complete whole of my energy. No one therefore can be independently powerful in any measure without being endowed by the Lord. When the Lord descends on the earth along with his eternal, ever liberated associates, he not only displays the divine energy possessed by him, but also empowers his associate devotees with the required energy to execute his mission of incarnation. It is also stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.5 that the Lord and his eternal associates descend on the earth many times. But the Lord remembers all the different roles of the incarnations, whereas the associates, by his supreme will, forget them. Similarly, the Lord takes away with him all his associates when he disappears from the earth. The power and energy which were bestowed upon Arjuna were required for fulfillment of the mission of the Lord. But when his mission was fulfilled, the emergency powers were withdrawn from Arjuna, because the astounding powers of Arjuna, which were astonishing even to the denizens of heaven, were no longer required, and they were not meant for going back home, back to Godhead. If endowment of powers and withdrawal of powers by the Lord are possible even for a devotee, great devotee like Arjuna, or even the demigods in heaven, then what to speak of the ordinary living beings who are but figs compared to such great souls? The lesson is therefore that no one should be puffed up for his powers borrowed from the Lord. The sane man should feel rather obliged to the Lord for such benefactions and must utilize his power for the service of the Lord. Such power can be withdrawn at any time by the Lord. So the best use of such power and opulence is to engage them in the service of the Lord. Text 6. I have just lost him whose separation for a moment would render all the universes unfavorable and void, like bodies without life. Text 7 as well.
Hold on. So Arjuna was given all this power by the Lord to execute the mission of the Lord. And this is why Arjuna single-handedly killed majority of warriors on the other side, single-handedly, because he had this special power from the Lord. And then the Lord withdrew this power because this emergency power is not required to go back home to Godhead. Material world example is that, say, some officer is given some authority to execute a contract. And after the person changes position, the power is no longer with that person. The lesson is that no one should be puffed up for his powers because the powers are borrowed from the Lord. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says that the use of power given to you in service of the Lord is the right way to use the power. Means use yukta vairagya. Use your abilities in service of the Lord. Everybody with me? Questions, comments, realizations? All right. So the next 10 verses, Arjuna recollects the favors showered upon Pandavas by the Lord. All these purports are very long. So instead of reading these purports, I request that as we read each of these verses, one of you can briefly explain the pastime described. And then we will briefly touch base upon the lessons from each one of them. Everybody can do that. Everybody will explain a little bit of the pastime, whatever they can. Silence. I got silence.
Yes, Prabhu, we can try.
All right. Chandran Prabhu, verse 7 translation. So this is about Draupadi Swayamvar.
Hare Krishna. Text 7, translation. Only by his merciful strength was I able to vanquish all the lusty princes assembled at the palace of King Drupada for the selection of the bridegroom. With my bow and arrow, I could pierce the fish target and thereby gain the hand of Draupadi.
Mm. So who wants to describe Draupadi, Swayamvar and all the related circumstances and the situation? Somebody? Vimal Prabhu? We cannot hear you, Vimal Prabhu. Vimal Prabhu, unmute and mute and unmute again. We cannot hear you. Somebody else wants to try. We cannot hear Vimal Prabhu if he's trying to speak. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Mind Prabhu, go ahead.
So for Draupadi's Swayamvar, King Drupada wanting a son-in-law for his daughter Draupadi, so he set up an impossible challenge to like whoever will shoot a revolving fish by looking at the reflection in the water uh, will be the winner and will be eligible to marry Draupadi. So all of the kings came and participated, including Karna, Duryodhan, and all other kings. Um, so at first, Karna also Karna was able to aim at the fish and shoot at it, but Draupadi rejected him, saying like she wants to marry a Sutaputra. Since since Karna's real identity, that he also belongs to the royal family, was hidden, uh, so he was rejected, and uh, in that Pandavas also participated, but Pandavas came in the form of sadhus instead of their real forms, like as Brahmins, uh, and Arjuna was able to uh, look at the reflection of the fish in water and was able to shoot the arrow, and that's how Draupadi decided to uh, marry uh, Arjuna. But again, there was that twist where uh, Arjuna took Draupadi to his mother, and his mother, instead, before looking at what he bought, she just said like whatever he has bought should be divided among all the brothers, and that's how Draupadi ended up marrying all the Pandavas.
Okay, very good. So yes, that Pandavas were in hiding at the time because they were trying to hide from Duryodhan's atrocities, and they came in disguise as sadhus or brahmanas, and there were so many kings present, and nobody could even lift this special bow except for Karna. Karna was also capable, and Mayank Prabhu correctly described that because Karna's real identity was hidden at the time, therefore Draupadi refused to marry. Of course, Krishna asked or told Draupadi with a glance to reject Karna, because Krishna had a bigger plan to get Draupadi married to Arjuna. So yes, this was possible for Arjuna to lift the bow and to shoot the fish by looking at the reflection in the water, and that too, it's a moving fish. So this was quite a challenge. And the father of Draupadi, Draupad, had set this almost impossible challenge because he also had Arjuna in mind for Draupadi to get married to. Okay, very good. Everybody on the same page? So Arjuna is teaching us from all this description, Arjuna is teaching us that all these successes are possible because of Lord Krishna's favor. So in the material world, when we also get some successes, instead of getting bumped up, we should remember Krishna, that this has been possible because Krishna gave the ability, because Krishna gave the sanction. All right, let's read the next verse. Mayank Prabhu, verse 8 translation. And this is about Agni Dev and Maya Danva.
Mhm. Hare Krishna, verse 8. Because he was near me, it was possible for me to conquer with great dexterity the powerful king of heaven, Indradev, along with his demigod associates, and thus enable the fire god to devastate the Khandava forest. And only by his grace was the demon named Maya saved from the blazing Khandava forest, and thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architectural workmanship, where all the princes assembled during the performance of Rajasuya Yajna and paid you tributes.
Mm. Anybody knows this pastime? Could be a difficult pastime. Yes, no?
No, Prabhuji.
Mm. So let me explain this. So Agni Dev accepts all the yajna. So we pour this ghee or butter in the fire with the swaha, swaha, swaha. So Agni Dev accepts all this ghee, and this one time Agni Dev had accepted so much ghee and butter, um, which caused him this bodily discomfort. So he had to consume some herbs to get his bodily discomfort under control. And he went to devour through fire a forest of herbs, and Indra kept pouring so much rain that Agnidev could not burn that forest of herbs, meaning Agnidev could not consume those herbs. So Agnidev then asked Arjuna and Krishna. So they were traveling around the same place, and he asked for help. And this is the time when Agnidev gave Arjuna the chariot that Arjuna has. That if you read Bhagavad Gita chapter 1, verses around 14 to 20, where all these signs of victory are described, one of them is this Agnidev's chariot and Arjuna's Gandhiva bow and the quiver. So all these three were given to Arjuna by Agnidev, that this Agnidev's chariot can go anywhere and everywhere, as well as the Arjuna's Gandhiva bow and arrow, means the quiver where he puts his arrows, that quiver, the arrows will never end. Now, I mean, Arjuna is shooting so many arrows. How is it possible? Because this was given to him by Agnidev that this arrows in his quiver will never end. He can just keep shooting. So Arjuna, to help Agnidev, he used this bow and arrow to build an umbrella around the whole forest with this bow, with these arrows. And even though Indra has the capacity to pour so much rain, now this is described in Canto 10, around chapter 24, if I'm not mistaken, the Govardhan Hill pastime, that Indra sends so much rain through these Samvatra clouds. Those rain that Indra sent in Vrajvas during the Govardhan Hill pastime, that drops of rain were of the size of a trunk of a tree. Now that rain is supposed to be when annihilation happens. So when annihilation happens, for 72,000 years, first the universe is filled with water. Therefore, the drops are that big, of the size of trunk of a tree. And then for 72,000 years, it burns. So first burning happens and then rain happens. So for this, Agnidev also, Indra was sending so much rain, the size of the droplets were that big, but Arjuna built an umbrella out of these arrows so that Agnidev could devour this forest of herbs, the Khandava forest, so that he regains his health. Now, when Agnidev devastated the Khandava forest, all these animals, insects, reptiles in the forest, they all got liberated because Krishna was present there. So they all kind of left the body in presence of Krishna. Now this one demon, Maya Danva, he sought shelter under Arjuna. He was in this forest where Agnidev is about to devastate. So he took shelter of Arjuna. So devotees are more merciful than Krishna. This is being taught here. So when all this was happening and Mayadanva took shelter of Arjuna, then Krishna ceased to chase this demon as soon as the demon took shelter of the devotee. So there's another pastime where something was going on about killing or wanting to kill this demon. So this is the cycle of mercy being described here. That by mercy of the Lord, you get mercy of the devotee, and by mercy of the devotee, you get even more mercy of the Lord. Hence, anything you do in Krishna consciousness does not go to waste. And therefore, more mercy flowed onto Mayadanva to serve the devotees, even when he is a demon. So the palace, the unique palace that was built for the Pandavas, that everybody was astonished, was built by this demon because he was saved by Arjuna, and he goes on to serve the rest of the Pandavas by building this amazing palace for them. Questions, comments, realizations? Right. Matan Prabhu, translation, verse 9. Shivangi has a question.
That he conquered King Indra. How did he do that?
Who conquered Indra?
Arjuna in the verse, the purport.
Yeah, so Indra was trying to pour so much rain to not allow Agnidev to devour the forest. So by Arjuna building that umbrella with the arrows, that so much rain, the size of each drops of the rain being the size of a trunk of a tree, even they could not penetrate through the umbrella created by Arjuna. That's how Arjuna defeated the intent of Indra. And that's how he defeated. He did not kill or did not do anything bad, but defeated in the sense that what Indra was trying to do, Arjuna defeated Indra's plan.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So they didn't have a direct battle.
Correct. Vimal Prabhu. Vimal Prabhu, we still cannot hear you. You can write in the chat or disconnect and connect again on the Zoom call. All right. Matan Prabhu, verse 9 translation.
Hare Krishna, verse 9. Your respectable younger brother, who possesses the strength of 10,000 elephants, killed by his grace Jarasandha, whose feet were worshipped by many kings. These kings had been brought for sacrifice in Jarasandha's Mahabhairava Yajna, but they were thus released. Later they paid tribute to your majesty.
So this is the pastime of Jarasandha being killed by Bhima. Anybody wants to describe? Anybody? Anybody knows pastime? Yes, no? Shivangi?
Little bit, Prabhuji.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he was killed by getting split in two halves because he had some special boon, and then he was a long time enemy of the Lord. But in the end, the Lord, Arjuna, and Bhima, they were all in disguise and they went to kill him. And in the end, Bhima's the one who killed him.
Okay, very good. Correct point. So let me explain this Jarasandha and then we'll come back to Vimal Prabhu's earlier question. So what had happened was that this one king did not have children. He had two wives. He did not have children. So he went to a sage, did some yajna, and the sage gave him a fruit. He said, give this to your wife and the wife will have children, or wife will have a son. So the king was equal to both his wives. So which wife does he give this fruit? So he split the fruit in half and gave to each of his wife. So each of this wife became pregnant and each of this wife delivered half of a child. Now he got one wife delivering half child and another wife delivering the other half. So the king was like, what am I going to do with this? This is half a child and the child was not even alive. So the king threw away this flesh of newborn child in half, which were in half and half. He threw it away because he said, this is useless. The sage did something wrong, or maybe. So a demon at the time by the name of Jara was passing through around the place where the king threw away those flesh of the newborn child. And the demon picked up these two flesh to eat. They say, oh, this looks like raw flesh and fresh flesh. I will eat it. And as soon as the demon picked up the two parts of this half child, And as the demon was trying to just eat it, and when they got close to each other, they assembled and it became a live child. So therefore, this child is named as Jara Sangha. So Jara came from the demon who picked up, and Sangha means to combine or to join. This is how the name Jarasangh got the name of Jarasangh. Now, Jarasangh was a demon or had this demoniac propensities and was very powerful, that he would capture so many kings and capture their kingdom. So Shivangi correctly described that Krishna, Bhima, and Arjuna went in disguise as Brahmins to fight. Now Jarasangh actually knew or realized who they were by looking at their body, that he looked at Arjuna and he saw all these marks on his hands, that he's some archer. He looked at Bhima with his heavily bodily build, and he realized that he's some special. So he realized, and before this also, Krishna and Balram fought with Jarasangh multiple times because Krishna had the plan to remove all the demons from earth. So Krishna and Balram's plan was that we will not kill Jarasangh. They had a battle with Jarasangh for 17 times because every time Jarasangh kept bringing more demons with his army. And Krishna and Balram sitting at one place, they kept killing all these demons. But they deliberately did not kill Jarasangh because they wanted Jarasangh to come back with more demons, because this was one of the purpose of Krishna appearing, to remove the demons from earth. So finally, when Bhima is to kill Jarasangh and they had a heavy fight, and Bhima kept bifurcating Jarasangh in two halves by pulling through his two legs apart, but the body kept merging again and again. And then Krishna gave a hint to Bhima. He picked up a branch, he split the branch in two halves, and then threw the two halves of the branch in opposite direction. And this was the clue to Bhima. So Bhima then again split Jarasangh's body in two, and then threw the two parts in opposite direction so that the body doesn't get joined again. So the learning from here, this verse, is that this is the Lord's unseen plan to protect all these kings who Jarasangh had captured. Without mercy of Krishna, Pandavas, or here Bhima, could not win. No matter how much intelligence you have, no matter how much power you have, but without Krishna's mercy, your intelligence will be a failure. Everybody on the same page about Jarasangh's pastime? Vimal Prabhu? Still your voice is not coming through, Vimal Prabhu. We cannot hear you. Okay, we cannot hear Vimal Prabhu. You can either write in the chat or again try to disconnect. Maybe you need to upgrade your Zoom. All of you can please try to upgrade your Zoom, because there are so many updates going through so frequently. Yes, normally the Zoom does update by itself, but you can force the Zoom update by going through the menu and trying to look for updates and update. All right, we'll continue reading. Shivangi, verse 10 translation. So this is about Draupadi's dishonor.
Verse 10 translation. It was he only who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreant, so dared open the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been nicely dressed and sanctified for the great Rajasuya sacrificial ceremony. At that time she fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna with tears in her eyes.
So who wants to describe about this Draupadi's disrobing incident? Everybody should know this. Somebody? Silence. I got silence. Everybody should know this incident. Hare Krishna. Somebody please describe. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Quiet mind, Prabhu. Yeah, Prabhuji, I'll try. So, this the incident began with Yudhishthir. He so I don't know the exact story, but he was I think supposed to uh, be the king, and there was this decision to play this dice game, uh, and he was been tricked by Shakuni in this game, and he basically in this game he lost everything from his kingdom to his brothers being the like das of Duryodhan to ultimately losing his wife Draupadi. Uh, when all this happened, Draupadi was not present in the uh, in where that where all the things were. So basically, where this dice game was placed, it was Yudhishthir who decided uh, to stake everyone, and he lost everything. And Draupadi wasn't even aware about all this. And once uh, once uh, once he lost everything, it was I think Dusasan who brought Draupadi to court by she was dragged to the court by Dushasan by pulling her hair. Uh, uh, I mean, I All and right, very good. Yeah, yeah. you described it correctly. So let me explain a little bit from before, and Mayank Prabhu described it correctly. So when Duryodhan and Yudhishthir both were supposed to be kings, I mean, Yudhishthir was supposed to be king, but Duryodhan somehow didn't like it, and Dhritarashtra also didn't like it. So they divided the palace or the kingdom, and Duryodhan has Hastinapur as the kingdom, and then Pandavas built Indraprasth. So in the previous example, the Mayadanva is the one who built that Indraprasth palace, and this Indraprasth palace was a little magical that you couldn't, unless you couldn't distinguish between whether the floor is floor or whether there is water flowing, even though looked like water flowing, but it was a floor. So Duryodhan had also visited Indraprasth, and he actually fell in a water thinking that that was a floor, and Draupadi seeing this laughed. So Duryodhan didn't like this, and he wanted to take revenge of somehow disrespecting the Pandavas and Draupadi. So this gamble, playing of this dice game was trickily arranged, where Yudhishthir lost all his opulences, then his brothers, and then Draupadi, and Dushasan was finally bringing Draupadi by pulling her hair, because Draupadi was not easily coming to this assembly. So the learning here is that Lord can tolerate insults upon himself, but he never tolerates insults upon his devotees. Therefore, we should be very, very careful not to offend anyone. So because of this Dushasan's offense, not just Dushasan, but Duryodhana and everybody around him also, they all got their life span reduced because they touched Draupadi's hair. And this was an insult. They tried to insult. So Shivangi and Chandran Prabhus are also there in this other batch of Srimad Bhagavatam, where we have discussed Canto 3 as well as Canto 4, where this whole negative point is described about offenses, that Daksha offends Shiva, and the whole learning from those initial 7 chapters of Canto 4 about the Daksha and Shiva's pastime is that we should not do offenses and we should not become angry. Anger is very detrimental. Shivangi and Chandran Prabhus, you want to share something about the offenses from the other class that we have discussed?
Yeah, I just have a question, Prabhuji.
Right.
We
Yeah.
know Draupadi is a pure devotee. Just wanted to know how we can understand her behavior, because she called, I don't know if it was insult, but she insulted Karna, right, and called him son of a Shudra, and then now she laughed at Duryodhana. Is it considered just part of the Lord's plan, or?
Yeah, so it's Lord's plan that an incident. I mean, she didn't really insult. She just had a natural laugh. So for Karna, there was no insult. She just said, "You are Sutputra, that you are not a king." For Duryodhan, yes, she laughed, and Duryodhan being the short temper, and this was the Lord's plan to use it to incite Duryodhan and ignite the whole war or make him angry. Shivangi?
Yeah, but technically she shouldn't have done it, right?
So the Lord's plan we cannot understand. Right? So Krishna uses his devotees to teach us many things. So what the pure devotees do, it's beyond us to understand or even estimate.
Thank you.
Shivangi and Chandran Prabhus, you want to share some learnings from our other class about offenses?
Prabhuji, the anger is detrimental because of anger, whole body is disturbed. And Daksha accused his own father, Lord Brahma. Root cause of anger must be analyzed, which causes the trigger. We should not be envious of others, not to fall prey for every envy and anger. Lust and anger and passion makes one crazy.
All right, very good.
Don't offend the Vaishnavas. That
All
causes
right.
some actions.
Okay, very good. Everybody on the same page?
Yes, Prabhu.
All right. So we will skip Vimal Prabhu from reading. We cannot hear his voice. Abhishek Prabhu, are you now able to read verse 11 translation? Right. Divya, verse 11 translation. So this is about Durvasa Muni.
Hare Krishna. During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food saved us. By his accepting food thus, the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt sumptuously fed, and all three worlds were also satisfied.
Anybody knows this pastime would like to describe? Yes, no, somebody?
Prabhu, I can try, Prabhu.
Mhm.
So Durvasa Muni is a very powerful rishi. He always was accompanied by his 10,000 disciples. He once visited the house of Duryodhana. Now Duryodhana knew about his powers, and he knew that if he was offended, he could create, he could curse and create, havoc. So he sent him to, or he requested him to also go see Maharaj Yudhishthira, but he planned it in such a way that he would go there after Draupadi had her dinner. In that way, he would not have the meals prepared to feed all the 10,000 disciples and the Muni. So at this, when he arrived there, King Yudhishthira asked him to, go and take a, bath in the river with his disciples. And Draupadi was in a very tough situation, but she immediately remembered and took shelter of the Lord. So the Lord appears and he tells her to give whatever remnants she had of the food she had prepared. And she brings the pot, and there is just a few morsels there, which Lord Krishna does, place in his mouth. And because of this, all the rishi and his disciples felt that they had had a sumptuous meal. So after they took the bath in the river, they didn't even feel like they had to come back, to have the food because they already felt satisfied. So that's what it is.
Okay, very good. So little history. So Nitya correctly described and little history behind this. So Draupadi had a pot which is known as Akshay Patra. That this pot can give unlimited food as long as Draupadi has not eaten for the day. So Draupadi would always be the last one to eat so that the rest of the Pandavas can keep eating while they were in exile. So it's just one pot, but it will keep feeding and feeding and feeding everyone as long as Draupadi has not eaten as for the day. So Durvasa Muni is definitely a very powerful and a real strange character. Has a little short temper as well, and he's always traveling with 10,000 or some disciples. So Duryodhan tricked Durvasa Muni that Duryodhan invited Durvasa Muni at the kingdom and for service, etc. And then Duryodhan in disguise says he would be happy if Durvasa goes and visits his brothers Yudhishthir and Pandavas also. And Duryodhan planned it in such a way that Durvasa Muni will reach Yudhishthir and Pandavas at a time when Draupadi would have already consumed the food or the prasadam for the day, and there'll be nothing left to feed Durvasa and his so many disciples. So that's exactly what happened, that Durvasa Muni came and he said, okay, we want something to eat. We'll first go and take shower in the river, not shower, but take bath in the river. And we'll come back. You have our food ready. So Pandavas and Yudhishthira were in anxiety, and they simply remembered Krishna, that you save us. This is one of the learning. So from all these instances, this is the learning. And one specific verse will also come up where we'll discuss more. That they simply remembered Krishna, and then Krishna manifested right there and asked Draupadi to bring that Akshapatra, the pot. And Draupadi says, no, why are you joking? There's nothing in the pot. Krishna says, no, just bring. So in the pot, there was this one very tiny bit of either a leaf or either a grain left over. After the cleaning, it was probably cleaned in that way that little bit of leaf or something was stuck. Krishna took just that tiny leaf and he was satisfied. So when Krishna got satisfied, everybody in the universe got satisfied, including Durvasa Muni and his 10,000 disciples. And they said, oh, we are so satisfied right now, we don't feel like eating anything. So if we go to Yudhishthir's place and he will have so opulent items for us, and if we don't take those items, then he will get offended. Now, if you step back a little in the history, Durvasa had another incident with a pure devotee, Ambrish Maharaj, where Durvasa deliberately tried to hurt Ambrish Maharaj by coming at a time on the Dwadashi day when it is the time to break the fast on the Dwadashi, the Ekadashi fast to break. And he's deliberately trying to test or hurt Ambrish Maharaj, but Ambrish Maharaj is a pure devotee. And Sudarshan Chakra is always on top of Ambrish Maharaj to protect him. When Durvasa Muni was just taking a bath around the time to break the fast, so Ambrish Maharaj took some water to break the fast. So by taking water is the same as breaking the fast as well as not breaking the fast. So because Ambrish Maharaj is a host, he is not supposed to eat or consume anything before serving the guest, meaning Durvasa Muni. So Durvasa Muni realized that Ambrish Maharaj broke his fast by taking water, and Durvasa Muni tried to curse or hurt Ambrish Maharaj, and Sudarshan Chakra came there and tried to kill Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni ran to Lord Narayan and said, I have come at your shelter. Now you protect me. So Lord Narayan says, I cannot protect you. I am under the control of my pure devotees. You have offended my pure devotee Ambrish Maharaj. So go and ask for forgiveness and serve my pure devotee. If he forgives you, then the Sudarshan Chakra will not kill you, but otherwise I cannot help you. This is Lord Narayan saying to Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni is so powerful that while the Sudarshan Chakra is trying to kill him, he is able to run from material world to the spiritual world to where Lord Narayan is. But pure devotees are even more powerful. They don't use the power for themselves, but they are more powerful. So then Durvasa Muni comes and offers obeisances and asks for forgiveness for Ambrish Maharaj. So Durvasa Muni, when he was at the place of Yudhishthir Maharaj, and then when he got so satisfied, he remembered this previous pastime of his trying to hurt Ambrish Maharaj and how Lord Narayan and Sudarshan Chakra were trying to kill him, or Lord Narayan was not protecting him, but Sudarshan Chakra was trying to kill him. So he said, well, now if I offend another pure devotee, which is Yudhishthira and Pandavas, well, Lord will not save me. Therefore, after taking bath, because they were already satisfied, they never returned to Yudhishthir's place. They just ran away from there. So from this pastime, the learning is that about how Duryodhan sending Durvasa Muni to Yudhishthir, the learning is that this was Duryodhan's approach to send Durvasa Muni to Yudhishthira and Pandavas. This is the kind of the mind of demoniac people, this is revealed. This is because of extreme envy against the other person. This is how a crooked person work and think. So when when Duryodhan invited Durvasa Muni to come and have some dinner at his place to please Durvasa Muni, Duryodhan is thinking that somehow I have to use Durvasa Muni's pleasure to use it against Yudhishthir. This is the thought process of crooked demoniac people because of their extreme envy. Therefore, Duryodhana is saying to Durvasa that, okay, now go there and also bless Yudhishthir and Pandavas. And he tries to create the circumstance in such a way that Durvasa Muni will reach there when Draupadi has also finished eating, so that there will be nothing left to come out from the Akshapatra. Everybody on the same page? Correct. So next few verses, Arjuna is giving credit to Krishna for the various pastimes. So in verse number 12, Arjuna defeated Shiva and demigods. Then in verse number 13, Arjuna is able to travel to other planets in the same human body to defeat demigods, which is not possible for anyone to travel to other planets in the same body. Then in verse number 14 and 15 is about the Kurukshetra war. Then in verse number 16 is about Prahlad Maharaj. So these will just read the translations in essence of time. And let's see who can read. Shivangi, you can read 12 to 16 translations.
Hare Krishna. Verse 12. It was by his influence only that in a fight I was able to astonish the personality of God, Lord Shiva, and his wife, the daughter of Himalaya. Thus he, Lord Shiva, became pleased with me and awarded me his own weapon. Other demigods also delivered their respective weapons to me, and in addition I was able to reach the heavenly planets in this present body and was allowed a half-elevated seat. Text 13. When I stayed home for some days as a guest in the heavenly planets, all the heavenly demigods, including King Indradeva, took shelter of my arms, which were marked with the Gandiva bow, to kill the demon named Nivata Kavacha. O King, descendant of Ajamila, at the present moment I am bereft of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose influence I was so powerful. Text 14. The military strength of the Kauravas was like an ocean in which there dwelt many invincible existences, and thus it was insurmountable, that because of his friendship, I, seated on a chariot, was able to cross over it. And only by his grace was I able to regain the cows and also collect by force many helmets of the kings, which were bedecked with jewels that were sources of all brilliance. Text 15. It was he only who withdrew the duration of life from everyone, and who, in the battlefield, withdrew the speculative power and strength of enthusiasm from the great military phalanx made by the Kauravas, headed by Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Shalya, etc. Their arrangement was expert and more than adequate, but he, Lord Shri Krishna, while going forward, did all this. Text 16. Great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Bhurishrava, Shusharma, Shalya, Jayadratha, and Balika all directed their invincible weapons against me. But by his, Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly, Prahlada Maharaja, the supreme devotee of Lord Narasimhadeva, was unaffected by the weapons the demons used against him.
So for all these, Arjuna is giving credit to Krishna, that everything was possible by Krishna. Verse 17 is the incident of Arjuna giving water to the horses in the middle of the Kurukshetra war. Let's see. Mayank Prabhu, 17 translation, and somebody can quickly describe the pastime if they know.
Hare Krishna. It was by his mercy only that my enemies neglected to kill me when I descended from my chariot to get water for my thirsty horses. And it was due to my lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared engage him as my chariot driver, for he is worshipped and offered services by the best men to attain salvation.
Anybody knows what's the incident of this Arjuna feeding water to the horses in the middle of the Kurukshetra war? Okay, so let me describe. So the previous day, Abhimanyu is killed because of whatever trickery. So the Arjuna is tricked away from the war, and then a Chakravyuh is set to capture Yudhishthir, and nobody knows how to break the Chakravyuh except Krishna and Arjuna are driven away. So Abhimanyu knew how to break the Chakravyuh, but he did not know how to come out. So the plan was that rest of the Pandavas will follow Abhimanyu very closely so as to enter the Chakravyuh. So Abhimanyu broke the Chakravyuh and entered the Chakravyuh, but before rest of the Pandavas could enter, Jayadratha stopped the rest of the Pandavas. So Jayadratha had a boon that he will become a cause of being heavy on the battlefield to rest of the Pandavas. And this was the reason why the Pandavas, means the rest of the army or rest of the Pandavas except Arjuna, could not follow Abhimanyu into the Chakravyuh, and then Abhimanyu goes on to being killed inappropriately. That's a different story. So Arjuna takes a vow that on the next day of the battle, he will kill Jayadratha, or Arjuna will himself enter a fire to end his life. So the following day also a different kind of Chakravyuh is set by Dronacharya, where Arjuna is supposed to defeat everyone. Well, Arjuna is fully capable to break the Chakravyuh, and he of course breaks the Chakravyuh because not only Arjuna is capable, but he also has special powers. So single-handedly, Arjuna goes on to defeat one after the other so many kings on the way, and he goes on to break the Chakravyuh and is trying to reach Jayadratha as soon as is possible before sunset to satisfy his vow. So in the middle of no place, before sunset, Lord Krishna stops the chariot, and Arjuna says, "Why have you stopped the chariot in the middle of nowhere? What's going on?" So Krishna says that the horses are thirsty and tired. They cannot, Arjuna, these tired horses cannot take you to the victory path. They need to rest, take a bath in a river and drink some water. So Arjuna gets off the chariot, and in the middle of the Kurukshetra battlefield, using his arrows, Arjuna creates a pond where the horses go, dip in, drink water, and get ready. They are now refreshed. So while Arjuna was doing all these activities to get the pond and everything ready for the horses, well, Arjuna is off his chariot. Anybody could have just killed him, but Krishna protected Arjuna that nobody was able to touch Arjuna at all. And then, of course, Arjuna and Krishna and the horses, the chariot, then they go on to defeat Jayadratha. Of course, there's this additional pastime where Krishna covers the sun with his Sudarshan Chakra to create an illusion that sun has set, so that Jayadratha could come in front, because there was still quite a distance, and so many of them were trying to fight together against Arjuna, and Arjuna being alone. So Krishna had to further trick to protect his devotee, that Krishna covered the sun with the Sudarshan Chakra, and then Jayadratha came walking in front to Arjuna, and then Arjuna shot. And there was, of course, the further pastime to Jayadratha, that Jayadratha also had a boon from his father, that whosoever throws Jayadratha's head onto the ground, that person's head will blow away. So Krishna, just before Arjuna shooting Jayadratha, Krishna gives this secret to Arjuna, that shoot such an arrow that Jayadratha's head floats all the way to the forest where Jayadratha's father is sitting in meditation, and that head should go and fall in his lap. So the father of Jayadratha is sitting in the forest in meditation, and Jayadratha's head floats on this Arjuna's special arrow and falls in his lap. And the father comes out of meditation and sees the head of his son in his lap, and he throws the head off, and the head falls on the ground, and the father's head blows up, because it's the father who threw the head on the ground. I mean, it was his blessing to his own son, but it ended up working against him, because he misused, the father misused the power to give a blessing to the son, which he was not supposed to give such a blessing. Everybody on the same page? Questions, comments, realizations? All right.
What an interesting story, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you for hearing with rapt attention. Okay, Nitya, 18-19 translations, faster pace.
Yes, Prabhu. Text 18. O King, his jokings and pranks are soft with pleasing and beautifully decorated with smiles. His addresses onto me as O son of Pritha, O friend, O son of Kuru dynasty, and all such heartiness I now remember thy name, and thus I am overwhelmed. Text 19. Generally, both of us used to live together and sleep, sit and loiter together, and at the time of advertising oneself for acts of chivalry, sometimes, if there were any irregularity, I used to reproach him by saying, my friend, you're very truthful. Even in those hours when his value was minimized, he, being the supreme soul, used to tolerate all those utterings of mine, using me exactly as a true friend excuses his true friend, or a father excuses his son.
So Arjuna is expressing his feelings that when Krishna will call him Parth, etc., these are loving ways to address another, or Krishna is also a loving way to address Krishna. So Arjuna is saying that when Krishna used to call him Parth in a loving manner, that Krishna's voice was very sweet. So Arjuna clearly explains that by all these different examples, that by these favors of Krishna is why the Pandavas are glorious in this world. That whatever the Pandavas achieved was because of grace of Krishna. This is a learning for us. That at least from this point on a go-forward basis, whatever we earn, whatever we achieve, whatever credits we get, remember Krishna. Remember these pastimes of Arjuna teaching us that give the credit to Krishna, because without Krishna's sanction, it is not possible. So one of the question becomes here that devotees wanting to get favor of Krishna. What is the secret? How do you understand this? How do you get favor of devotees of Krishna? The answer is serve the devotees of the Lord and relate everything with Krishna, that we are just instruments. When favor comes, or whatever we achieve, whatever successes we get, we should not get puffed up. Otherwise, the favor will be taken away. Therefore, stay humble. Whatever I have achieved is because of Krishna. So this ahankar or ego is the cause of our destruction. And that same success becomes the cause of our destruction. So the question now is that what is the lesson from Arjuna remembering all these pastimes? Like he remembered Bhagavad Gita and all these pastimes. The answer is remembering. Remembering is the answer. This is the point for all of us to learn. And this is what Arjuna is teaching us. That when I am in distress, I forget what good things have come upon me. Materialistic people, when they are in crisis, he does not see what good things have come upon him. When Arjuna is in crisis, Arjuna is teaching us by Arjuna simply remembering the Bhagavad Gita instructions and Krishna's favors and Krishna's pastimes. So I have a question for all of you. All of you, please try to answer, 100% of you. How many of you remember Bhagavad Gita? We have discussed Bhagavad Gita like how long ago? How many of you remember Bhagavad Gita? I got pin drop silence. How many of you remember Bhagavad Gita?
Prabhu, I do remember the memorized verses, try to repeat it like you have told through the day, try to remember. So some of the memorized verses I keep remembering. And then when I listen to some of the lectures, especially Guru Maharaj, he quotes a lot of those verses. So, and also reading the scriptures on a daily basis. So there are parts of the day I try through my sadhana to remember.
Okay, very good. Rest of you, do you remember Bhagavad Gita?
Prabhuji, it is part and parcel of the life which is not forgotten. And there's nothing to forget about the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. All we remember everything, though the verses are not memorized, but still the meanings of each one is still remembered.
Okay, very good. Okay, very good. Rest of you, do you remember Bhagavad Gita? I got pin drop silence except for a couple of devotees.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, may I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Hare Krishna.
Recently there was some kind of dispute in the family, devotee family regarding short about property issues. Then I realized the 327. I said we should not blame anybody. The thing for 327 at all. Krishna is behind all game, nothing else. So not to blame anybody, but I thought for 327 that sloka, nothing else. Prakriti kriya guna marani karmane sir. That thing should help me to pacify the mind for those devotees.
Okay, very good. So you remember something, but Bhagavad Gita is 700 verses.
I know difficult, but that stroke remember came in my mind that day.
Yeah, you have bits and pieces, which is very good. You are on the right track. But does anybody remember 700 or lot of the verses? There are at least 150 key verses. So the point why I'm discussing this is I got silence from many of you. So I want all of you to consider this, and you can respond to me offline. 100% of you should respond that after we finish Canto 1, we should go back and revise Bhagavad Gita. This is what we have done in other batches, that so frequently we have revised Bhagavad Gita multiple times. Because Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's direct words. We cannot forget. We should not forget. So you all tell me if this is a valid plan. Now, when I say this is a valid, whether this is a valid plan or not, it should not happen that only 2 or 3 or 4 devotees do the revision and then rest of you are silent or rest of you go away and then come back. No, that is cheating. So if you have to commit, all of you need to commit to revise one chapter after the other and then go back to studying Srimad Bhagavatam again. So in other batch, we revised Bhagavad Gita. So we finished Canto 1, we revised Bhagavad Gita. Then again we finished little more Bhagavatam. We again revised other scriptures such as Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, Shishopanishad, so that we don't forget. Right now, and this batch, you are not even revising Srimad Bhagavatam. No wonder many of you stayed silent when I say, do you remember? Well, do you remember Bhagavatam that we are discussing? Do you realize your own problem? That how you all have stopped this revision of Srimad Bhagavatam? Do you understand the effect that is happening onto you all? That you are not able to remember what you are supposed to remember. Otherwise, how are you going to remember Bhagavad Gita's instruction when you have misery? You tell me. So all of you can respond to me offline whether it's a valid plan to have a revision of these other scriptures that we have covered so as to keep refreshing our mind. All right. Verse number 20 is a very important verse. Gauri, verse number 20 translation.
Hare Krishna, verse 20 translation. O Emperor, now I am separated from my friend and dearmost well-wisher, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore my heart appears to be void of everything. In his absence, I have been defeated by a number of infidel cowherd men when I was guarding the bodies of all the wives of Krishna.
So here are two questions for you. So Arjuna has the same Gandhiva. So how could Arjuna be defeated by ordinary cowherd men or rogues? And we discussed in the previous chapter, one of the previous chapters, that the queens of Krishna, the 16,100 queens of Krishna, are internal potencies. So how could these cowherd boys touch and capture these queens? Everybody quickly. Anybody knows this?
Was not the cowherd man.
Okay.
Because nobody else can touch the goddesses other than Krishna.
Okay. Rest of you? Okay, so in essence of time, let me speak. So Shivangi correctly described. So, and also if you follow Ravana, that Ravana could not touch Mother Sita. It was the shadow of Mother Sita that Ravana had abducted. So here, this cowherd men that defeated Arjuna, the cowherd men who defeated Arjuna was actually Krishna. The wives, meaning the queens of Krishna, they had laughed at Astavakra Muni because he used to move in a peculiar curved manner. Therefore, the wives were cursed by Astavakra Muni that they will be kidnapped by rogues even if they would get the Lord as their husband. So the wife then again prayed and satisfied the same Astavakra Muni. Therefore, Astavakra Muni then blesses them that they would regain their husband even after getting captured by rogues. Therefore, in order to keep the word of the Astavaka Muni, the Lord himself kidnapped his own wives from the protection of Arjuna in disguise as a cowherd boy. Otherwise, these wives would have vanished as soon as they would have been touched by ordinary rogues. So this was one of the questions in our question answer session, that what happened to the 16,108 wives. So after departure of Lord Krishna to Goloka Vrindavan, he wanted all his pure devotees, his entourage, to get back to Godhead. So all those were called back in different conditions, and thus the wives, the 16,108 wives who were in the mood of awe and reverence, who were in Dwarka, which Arjuna was protecting and bringing them back, and which he could not because it was Krishna coming in disguise as coward men, and he captured all these 16,108 wives. Well, they were his wives to begin with. This way, Krishna gave entrance to his wives in the Vrindavan pastime. Means he elevated them from the Dwarka pastime to Vrindavan pastime. Does that answer the question that we left from the question answer session, as well as this very important verse?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yes.
So we are just about at 9 o'clock here in Toronto time. I'll give you homework question. Question number 1. Why did the Lord withdraw Arjuna's special powers? Comes from verse number 5. Second, explain how the cowherd man was able to defeat Arjuna. Comes from verse number 20. And third, for next class, if you have not already read rest of chapter 15. We will aim to complete chapter 15 at our next class. There is also a heavy discussion coming up. And as I said few minutes ago, all of you should respond to me individually. It's mandatory. 100% of you should respond about the revision, whether or not you want to do revision. Otherwise, you are just listening. You are not remembering. You are not following the instructions of what we are learning from the scriptures. You are here like you are visiting a park. Many of you, not all of you. You are like in a park, coming and going in a leisurely fashion. All right, we'll stop here. Hare Krishna, everybody.